Hello everyone, and welcome to Behind the Bulletin. We're excited to have you with us today. This episode, we're diving into a story that has sent fans into a frenzy across social media. Reports are swirling that Cha Eun-woo secretly met Moon Ga-young during his military service, and the unexpected reunion has reignited excitement among fans worldwide. Was this a simple private meeting, or something more that no one saw coming? Why did this encounter spark such an intense reaction? And what does it really mean? This as we break down the details behind this buzzworthy moment. Right now on Behind the Bulletin. It started with a whisper, the kind that spreads faster because no one can prove it. Yet no one can ignore it. Late at night, a single post appeared on an online fan forum. Vague, unverified, almost careless. It mentioned a private meeting, a familiar cafe, and two names that instantly set hearts racing, Cha Eun-woo and Moon Ga-young. Within minutes, the post was shared, translated, dissected, and amplified across platforms. By morning, it was everywhere. For months, Cha Eun-woo's military service had been marked by silence. No public appearances. Updates beyond official channels. Fans had resigned themselves to waiting, counting days, replaying old dramas, holding on to memories. The distance was accepted, painful, but expected. What no one expected was this. According to circulating reports, Cha Eun-woo had met Moon Ga-young privately during his service. No cameras. No announcements. Just a quiet encounter that allegedly happened far from public view. The lack of details only fueled the fire. Fans reacted instantly, and intensely. Screenshots flooded timelines. Old interviews resurfaced. Clips from their drama were replayed obsessively. Each glance and smile now loaded with renewed meaning. The chemistry that once lived on screen suddenly felt dangerously close to reality. Had something been hiding all along? The timing alone made the rumor explosive. Military service is a period defined by restraint, structure, and distance from the entertainment world. Any personal meeting during this time feels magnified. Symbolic, a break in the silence that fans had learned to endure. Speculation spiraled. Was this a planned reunion? A simple show of support between colleagues? Or something more personal? Carefully protected from public scrutiny? No official statements arrived to calm the chaos. Fans remained silent. That silence, once again, became the loudest sound in the room. Within hours, hashtags trended globally. Some fans celebrated, thrilled by the possibility of a real-life connection. Others felt conflicted, unsure how to reconcile fantasy with reality. They questioned the ethics of speculation itself, but even those voices were drowned out by the roar of curiosity. The meeting, whether real or rumored, had already done its damage. Once the idea was planted, it could not be undone. As the frenzy intensified, the narrative began to evolve and darken. What initially felt like excitement slowly transformed into obsession. Fans analyzed military schedules, referenced locations, scrutinized every public movement Moon Ga-young had made in recent weeks. Innocent coincidences were reframed as clues. Silence was treated as confirmation. The line between admiration and intrusion blurred dangerously fast. Industry insiders watched the situation with unease. They knew this pattern well. A rumor gains momentum not because it is true, because it feels emotionally satisfying. The idea of two beloved stars reconnecting during a period of enforced separation was irresistible. And yet, the cost was growing. Ga-young, suddenly thrust into the center of speculation, became the subject of relentless attention. Her online presence was examined frame by frame. Her words, stripped of context, were twisted into meaning she never claimed. Meanwhile, Cha Eun-woo remained unreachable, bound by the constraints of service. Unable to clarify, unable to defend, unable to participate in the narrative forming around him. Balance only deepened the tension. Some fans began to ask uncomfortable questions. Why did this rumor feel so powerful? Why did it matter so much? And at what point did fascination turn into entitlement? The entertainment industry, long accustomed to managing public perception, found itself powerless against the speed of fan-driven storytelling. No press release could keep up. No denial could erase what millions already believed. And slowly, a realization set in. This wasn't just about a meeting. It was about longing, about absence, about the emotional vacuum created when a star disappears and fans search desperately for connection. The rumor filled that void perfectly, offering closeness, romance, and continuity in a time defined by waiting. Whether the meeting truly happened almost became irrelevant, because the story had taken on a life of its own. In the end, the frenzy began to fade, not because answers arrived, but because attention moved on, as it always does. New headlines emerged. New rumors replaced old ones. The cycle continued. Something lingered beneath the surface. A quiet reminder of how fragile boundaries are in the age of constant access. Of how quickly imagination can eclipse reality. And of how even silence can ignite a storm. For Cha Eun-woo and Moon Ga-young, the moment passed without words. No confirmation. No denial. Just distance. And perhaps that was the only ending possible. In a world that demands everything, sometimes the most powerful response is none at all. The fans may have gone wild, but the truth, whatever it is, remains untouched by the noise. What lingered after the frenzy was not clarity, but a strange, uneasy calm, the kind that follows a storm when everything looks the same. Yet nothing truly is. The rumor had burned fast and bright, but its aftershocks continue to ripple quietly through fan communities and industry circles alike. Even as trending tags disappeared and timelines refreshed, the idea of that private meeting refused to fade. It settled into collective imagination, reshaping perceptions in subtle but lasting ways. Began to speak differently. Some no longer talked about the meeting itself, but about what it represented. The possibility that behind the rigid structure of military service, behind the carefully maintained distance between stars and the public, there still existed moments of humanity, brief, guarded, and unseen. That idea was both comforting and unsettling. Comforting, because it reminded people that idols are not frozen in time when they disappear from the spotlight. Unsettling, because it challenged the illusion of access fans believed they had. The truth, if there was one, existed beyond their reach. In fan spaces, a quiet divide emerged. Side clung to hope, romanticizing the rumored reunion as proof of something deeper, something enduring. The other grew defensive, urging restraint, warning against turning speculation into expectation. Tension between those groups simmered, revealing an unspoken conflict at the heart of fandom culture. The desire to feel close versus the responsibility to respect distance. Meanwhile, the industry absorbed the lesson with wary attention. Executives and managers took note of how quickly a single unverified story could dominate global conversation. How silence, whether intentional or unavoidable, could become a catalyst rather than a shield. The speed was alarming. The lack of control, even more so. At the center of it all were two people who never spoke. Young continued her work, her public image composed, her professionalism intact. Every appearance carried an added weight, an invisible narrative she had never agreed to carry. Each smile was analyzed not for what it showed, for what it supposedly concealed. Cha Eun-woo remained absent in the most literal sense, unreachable, restricted, unable to respond. His silence was no longer just a consequence of service, it had become symbolic. To some, suggested confirmation. To others, dignity. To many, frustration. But silence, by nature, cannot correct misunderstanding. As weeks passed, the story slowly dissolved into background noise. It was replaced by new rumors, new faces, new obsessions. The internet moved on, as it always does. Something fundamental had shifted. Fans became more aware of how easily they could be swept into collective speculation. How quickly imagination could harden into belief. How fragile the boundary between admiration and intrusion truly was. The rumored meeting, real or not, left behind a question far more uncomfortable than any headline. Do fans love their idols as people, or as stories they want to control? There was no clear answer. Only reflection. Perhaps that is why the story ended not with revelation, but with quiet disappearance. No closure. No confirmation. No dramatic conclusion. Just the understanding that not every moment belongs to the public. And not every silence is an invitation. In the end, the frenzy said more about the world watching than the two at its center. And somewhere beyond the noise, continued, unseen, unreported, and, for once, untouched by the spotlight. This story comes to an end. One thing becomes clear, it was never truly about a single meeting or a fleeting rumor. It was about anticipation, imagination, and the powerful emotions that arise when silence meets curiosity. Whether the private encounter between Woo and Moon Ga-young truly happened may never be fully confirmed. Yet the reaction it sparked revealed something deeper: how easily fans project hope, longing, narrative onto moments they cannot see or control. In that sense, the frenzy was less about two stars, and more about the space they left behind. Story reminds us that behind every headline and viral discussion are real people, entitled to privacy even in the brightest spotlight. Every silence hides a secret, and not every unanswered question demands an answer. Thank you for staying with us until the very end. Your time, attention, and thoughtful curiosity mean more than any rumor ever could. We appreciate your support and invite you to continue exploring the stories behind the headlines with us. Until next time, thank you for watching, and for listening behind the bulletin.